Welcome to this last lecture now on development of surfaces. One very interesting lecture, a very interesting topic. And before this, what we have done so far, we have discussed about the space geometry. In that, we discussed the various interrelations or interrelationships of lines and planes. Okay, and that was the basic. And today also we will be making use of those concepts which we have learned. Then in our last lecture we looked into the intersection of surfaces. For example, line and plane, two plane intersection, a line intersecting a solid and a plane intersecting a solid. So those kind of stuff we have seen already. Today in the development of surfaces, we'll start with some definitions. First of all, what is the meaning of development? So the meaning of the development is creating a foldable sheet with the help of frontal and horizontal views of an object. Basically, you are given the horizontal projection and the frontal projection of an object, and what you have to do, you have to look into that object and see how you can represent that object as a 2D sheet, so that once you fold that sheet, that object can be made. A very simple example is, is like a cylinder. So you can visualize what the horizontal projection and the frontal projection of a cylinder will look like. And for a cylinder, I can fold, a sheet, a rectangular sheet into a cylinder. So that rectangular sheet, or saying it otherwise, a cylinder can be unfolded onto a plane and it will form a rectangle. Okay, so that rectangle is the development of that cylinder surface. Alright, so this is what is the meaning of the development of surfaces. There are some surfaces which are developable. Okay, the meaning is those like cylinder which can be unfolded without any warping. So that is what we say the developable surfaces, while they are also non-developable. So for example, a sphere has got its curvature in two directions, unlike the cylinder where the curvature is only in one direction. Okay, so once we try to develop a sphere, or rather flatten a sphere onto a flat surface without warping, we cannot do it. So that's why it is non-developable surface. Some examples here. Yes, cuboid, as you can see over here, is made of planes, and those planes we can unfold as shown over here. So this is a developable surface. Similarly, pyramid. A pyramid can also be unfolded, and I can spread all those faces of the pyramid onto a 2D plane, onto a plane, so that becomes the developed surface for the pyramid. Similarly here, as we discussed, cylinder, yes, that's a cylinder, and the height and the circumference of the base of the cylinder will be equal to the width and the length of the rectangle, which is after unfolding or after development, the rectangle that we are getting. Also here, a cone. So a cone also, once you develop a cone, what you get? You get a sector of a circle, and the circle is such that its radius is equal to slant height of the cone, and the arc of that sector is equal to the base curve length of the cone. So that is also a developable surface. So cone, for example, if you visualize the cone, because we will be seeing some problems of the cone in this lecture also. In the cone also, the curvature is only in one direction, because I can always draw a straight line without any curvature on the other direction. Alright, so all those surfaces, all those solids, all those objects where we have the curvature only in one direction, while the other direction can be represented by straight lines, can be unfolded, or rather can be developed. Let us go further from here and let's see some basic concepts. So when I say basic concept, I mean how to develop a given solid. So what is given to you is the horizontal and frontal view of the object. First of all, the important thing is we will find the true sizes of all the faces, because once we are developing a surface, once we are developing an object, the developed object which is lying onto a plane should be of true sizes. Okay, so we'll have to find the true sizes, number one, and then those faces with their true sizes, we will connect them along their common edges. So for example, here this line is the common edge between a surface here and another surface here. So once I am unfolding it, once I am developing it, I will join the surface, the plane here and the plane here about this line and so on. So they are the common edges, and yes, everything is being put onto a common plane as we have discussed. So what we get is the developed surface. And one more thing, whenever we are developing a surface or an object, we do it in such a manner that the inside of the object faces up. So this is what you will see here also. The way we have done the development, the inside of the object is facing up. Alright, some more thing, and these are very interesting objects. They are called the transition pieces. What is the meaning of the transition piece? As you can see over here in these examples, another example here. So if we have a certain pipe here, and let's say the pipe is rectangular. Now over here there is another pipe, but it is circular. Okay, and then we have to connect these two. Alright, so the object or the transition piece in between will have to be created. Okay, so the transition piece that we are creating will look like something as one of these. So here in this example, a square is being transitioned onto a circle. Similarly, a circle is being transitioned onto a smaller square. So here they can be of different types. For example, here a rectangle here is being transitioned onto the another rectangle. However, the top rectangle is rotated. Similarly, here there is eccentricity between these two. So there can be different kinds of cases. For example, here an oval shaped opening is there and there is a square shaped opening. So we have these kind of objects. Very often we meet them in the industry. Okay, and we have to create these. So we should understand how to, if I give you a sheet, for example, okay, a metal sheet, and from that metal sheet you have to make something like this. So what is the way out? So this is what we will see. So for the transition pieces, some basic things. Yes, a transition piece is one which connects two openings. As we said, these two openings can be of different shape, different size, and also may be skewed in their position. Alright, as in this case it is skewed. And transition pieces also, if you observe here also, they are made of either plane triangles. For example, let me show you one. Here this is a plane triangle, okay, or they are made of the conical surfaces, or I can say they are made of the plane, simple plane. It can be triangle or the conical surfaces. So here a round is being connected to a point. So this particular piece here is a part of a cone. Okay, so on this there will be a curvature in one direction, while on the other direction is straight. Okay, so these are the conical surfaces. So with the help of the plane and conical surfaces, all these transition pieces can be developed, can be manufactured. Okay, so what we will do, we will start working with the development now, and we will need the true length for developed surfaces. As I said, when we develop, the developed surfaces are true shape and sizes. So always we will need the normal view. For example, let's say you are given the horizontal projection and the frontal projection of certain object, and we know sometimes if a plane or a face of an object is oblique, then it will appear as foreshortened or distorted on the frontal projection and as well as on the horizontal projection. So the distorted one we cannot use for the development. Rather, we'll have to generate the normal view of this oblique surface. So when you say the normal view, the meaning is for an oblique line we'll have to generate a true length. Okay, so we'll basically work with the line, because for plane also, if I want to develop the normal view of a plane, we work with the edge view, and the edge view can be generated for a plane if we choose a length onto the plane for which we can generate the point view. And to generate the point view of a length, I need the true length for that length. So we will see a way, we have seen it, but I'm again emphasizing upon this, that how we can get the true length for an oblique line, because we will make use of this a lot over here. So the method for getting the true length or the normal length of a line or normal view of a line, first method we have seen is the method of revolution. And in the case of the method of revolution, as you know, for example, if there is a line here and this line is not parallel to the frontal, neither it is parallel to the horizontal, so we rotate this line about a point here so that it becomes parallel to the frontal. So on the horizontal view, its projection will rotate. Alright, so then it will become parallel to the frontal, and once it is parallel to the frontal, on the frontal plane we'll get the true length. So we make use of this concept, and we can do the same job also with the help of the auxiliary view. However, in the case of the auxiliary view, we have to create an extra auxiliary view. For example, I am given for this line the frontal view and the horizontal view. You can generate by rotating its projection onto the horizontal, okay, and making the projection parallel to the frontal plane. You can create on the frontal plane the normal view of this line, which is the true length. But if you do it by the auxiliary plane method, you have to create another auxiliary plane somewhere, okay, which is parallel to this line, and another auxiliary plane. Then you project this line onto that plane where you will get the normal view. So in the case of the method of rotation, we can realize the true length by one less view than the auxiliary view method, isn't it? In the case of the auxiliary view, you require three: the frontal, the horizontal, and the auxiliary view. While in the case of the method of revolution, just frontal and horizontal, we are able to create normal view on the frontal and job is done. Alright, so we can create the normal view by rotation, and that we know. So if a line is revolved, okay, as I just gave the example, by revolving this line I can create this normal view or the true length I can generate. If I'm given the edge view of a plane, even the edge view of a plane, for example, this is the edge view of a plane, I can rotate this edge view so that this edge view becomes parallel to the horizontal. If the edge view is parallel to the horizontal, this plane will project onto the horizontal as a normal view. So by rotation of the edge view, we can create normal view of a plane also. Auxiliary view method we already understood. Okay, very quickly we will look into this, and I have already discussed it, of course, that method of rotation. What happens in the case of the method of rotation? So here is again, recapitulation of that, repetition of the same thing. So here you see this is the horizontal plane, and over here is the frontal, the vertical one is the frontal, and there is a line xy. So right now this line xy is not parallel to the frontal, so this line will project onto the frontal as well as on the horizontal as four shortened line. So here if you see, XHYH is the horizontal projection, XFYF is the frontal projection, and both are foreshortened. However, in the case of our developing surfaces, I need the true length. So for this line for which the projections are given, I need its true length. So as we just discussed, I will be rotating by keeping X as fixed and rotate this Y in a horizontal plane, and this becomes the line of or axis of rotation. Okay, so if I rotate, let us say that's the rotation, and by rotation I have made this line in the object space. What you are seeing here is the object space, that's the object, and this object is being projected onto the frontal as well as on the horizontal. So now this line which is being shown by black is parallel to the frontal, so its projection onto the frontal will be the true length. So this rotation, what I did here, I can realize this rotation also, because at this stage if you look at this black line which is parallel to the frontal, so the projection of the black line onto the horizontal will be parallel to the frontal. So let's do it over here now. Alright, so if I rotate the projection, that's the XY is the object space line, its projection was XSYH. So if I rotate this projection and make it parallel to the frontal, so it is now parallel to the frontal, as in this case this line in the object space becomes parallel to the frontal, so it will be projected as the true length. So the corresponding projection now onto the frontal will be the true length. So let's find that corresponding projection. So as the method we already know, with the help of this, alright, we can locate the point corresponding to this over here. So that will be the point now YFR. Okay, so that's the point YFR, and now this line which is in black color will be the true length. So that line is now the true length, and this is what we will be doing very often when we are doing the development of the surfaces. Okay, let's start now with development of a pyramid. A very simple example and very easy to understand. So there is a pyramid like this, and for this pyramid what we are given the projection of this, or I can generate the projection of the pyramid. So this is the frontal projection and the horizontal projection. Now we want to develop this pyramid. So when we want to develop this pyramid, I would like to know currently from the projections from horizontal as well as from the frontal, I do not know the true length. It is not known to me. Okay, so what is the fundamental here? The funda is, if I know the true length, say OB, so OB is same as OA is same as OC. So keeping over here, I will make OB, and then if I know the length BA, I will determine the position A, then I will find say C, again I know AC, and so on. So this is how I will be able to put all these triangles onto a plane, so that once this given sheet is folded along these lines, we will be able to form the pyramid. But in the given example right now, we do not know the true length. What is the true length? So we will try to determine the true length of say OD or OA. Similarly here OA, and we know the method now how to determine the true length. So what we will do, again by the method of revolution, so onto the horizontal projection OA, we are trying to make it parallel to frontal plane. So if I make it parallel to frontal, so this is now parallel to this, and corresponding to this we will find its horizontal projection, and the horizontal projection is here. So if I join it with OF, I have now the true length. So that is the true length of the edge over here. Once I know the true length, one more thing, if you see onto the horizontal projection, you know the true lengths of the base. So all these are known as true length. Okay, so now with the help of this information we will try to develop it. So first of all, taking O as the center, I am taking an arc which is equal to OA, because I know OA, so that arc is taken now. And let me start with a point here, anywhere a point here. Alright, now the next point, for example, I am now at point A, and now I want to find the next point, which is B. So where is B? The B point is from O, it is at distance OB, which we know, okay, which is the true length that we just determined, as well as AB also we know. So from O, I will take the arc is equal to OB, and from A we will take the arc is equal to AB. So if we do that, so that's the first line, and now AB arc we have taken, so this length here is AB, and from here this length is OB, which is same as OA. Alright, so that is how we can get the point B. Once we have the point B, now from here I know the length BC, as well as from O I know length OC, so I can locate the point C. So let's do it. So we can locate the point C. Again, if you go further, I can locate the point D, and finally we come back and locate the point A. So what we have now here is the developed surface for the given pyramid. So the meaning of this is, if you cut a metal sheet in this manner so that it can be folded about these lines, so once you fold it, it will give you a pyramid. Let us see one more case, and this is a case of a truncated prism. Now the 3D solid view of the prism is like this, and we can see its horizontal and frontal projections. Okay, now it's quite easy, just get accustomed to these names that I have written, over here 1 2 3 4. This is showing the names of the points on the truncated slope. So the base of the prism is A, B, C, D, E, F. That is how it is. And of course there is a cap which is closing it. There is also a base. So if I show you this cap and the base in red color here, so that is how the thing is, and this entire thing is to be developed. Okay, I have to cut a metal sheet in such a manner, once that sheet I fold, I will be able to generate this. And this is the horizontal projection, and this is the frontal projection. So you can understand this horizontal frontal projection easily. Okay, now the method is very simple. First of all, what we'll do, we'll start with what is the total stretch out or the girth of the prism. So that is equal to sum of these sides, and we know it. So I can draw a line equal to 1 2 3 4 5 6 1. So it's the line over there. Then on this line, the way the surfaces are, you can visualize them. Okay, say at 1 we have a certain height, at 2 we have a certain height, at 3 we have a certain height. Where are we getting these heights from? We are getting these heights from the front view. So I will be drawing now the projectors from the front view. Okay, let me do that. So if I do the projectors from the front view to show the different heights, that is how the projectors are there. Okay, now at point A, B, C, D, E, F, A, at each of these points I'm going up, because for example at A I have to go up to this line. At B I have to go up in height equal to this, that means equal to this projector. So I'm going up at each of these. Alright, if I join all of these, let us say we join it. So by joining this we get the developed surface. So here I can write further the name. Okay, so far we have done only for the prism part, not yet for the base as well as the cap over here. To do that, what I will need, of course the base of it is given. Okay, and I know this in true view, this is the normal view, because the base is parallel to horizontal. Okay, so it is normal view. So what I will do, I will transfer this base, say at 5, 6. Okay, that point 5, 6, I can transfer it at 5, 6, or maybe say at BC. I'm transferring it at BC. Okay, the whatever is there I can easily build it here. Okay, there's nothing big about it, that's a quite simple thing. At the same time, now how about this? So if I look at this, that means this face or this cap of it is along here, and what we see over here is the edge view of this surface. So if I see the edge view, to know its true view I will have to create an auxiliary plane and project it there. So this will become my A3 where I am making the projection, this will become as A2, this will become as A1 as per our basic definition, and on A3 I will have the true view of this projected. So let us do it. Alright, so that's the hinge line, and here is the auxiliary plane, and if I project, it's quite simple. We have done many such things earlier, and the distance is 5 and 6 are on hinge, because 5 and 6 are on hinge here, and the distance to 4 is this, so distance to 4 here is mapped, and that is how we have the true shape. Now this true shape I can transfer it to 5, 6 here, and I can create it here. Alright, so what we see here now is a sheet which has been cut in this fashion. When we fold this sheet, we will be able to generate this object. Like in the case of truncated prism, we have also another example here now, a truncated cylinder. The method is simple, only it involves the curve instead of those straight lines. So this is what is a truncated cylinder, and if I draw its horizontal and frontal projection, that is how the projection is, and this is another view of the truncated cylinder. Now similar to the previous slide, in the case of the prism, what we have done now here, there in the case of the prism we had very fixed sides, 6 sides were there. So once we see it in the on the horizontal view, we see those 6 sides. However, over here in this case is a circle. So this circle we need to divide in multiple parts or chords, and smaller the chord, better will be the developed surface. But yes, that means there will be many more pieces of that, many more folds will be there. So there is a trade-off between the accuracy that you want to achieve and the quantum of the work that you want to put. Alright, so let us say in this case we have done 12 divisions. Okay, there are 12 points on this, and these 12 points also I can show on the frontal projection. So what you see here is the base, alright, and that's the base here, and the corresponding points are projected onto the frontal. Alright, in this case also I know the stretch out or the girth of this cylinder, because I know this complete circumference. So I will be drawing this complete circumference there, and this total I will be dividing in 12 equal parts. Okay, this line I will be dividing in 12 equal parts, because here it is divided in 12 equal parts. So once I divide it in 12 equal parts, like in the previous case, I will be taking the heights. For example, what is the height at 1, what is the height at 12, okay, all of these. So I will be making use of the frontal view and then taking the projectors from the frontal view corresponding to different points, so that I can transfer the height. Okay, so let us do this. I will explain in a moment. So these are the 12 divisions corresponding to these divisions over here on the complete stretch out or the girth of the cylinder. Similarly, at each I have drawn a line, okay, and then I will be taking the projector from frontal view, so that I would like to know, okay, what is the height at 2. So the height at 2, I will look into this. For example, the 2 point is this, that's the projector. So corresponding to this, that's the height of 2. So projector coming from 2, where it intersects this, will give me the height at 2. So let us do it. So if I proceed with this, these are the projectors now from their corresponding points, and wherever they are intersecting, these are the corresponding points representing this. Okay, so next job is very easy. I can join these, and this becomes now my developed surface, okay, for the truncated cylinder.